If money keeps catching you off guard, you need a system you actually use in your real life. In my last video, I talked about how I stopped getting surprised by money. But here's the problem. That only works if you have a system that you actually use in real life. Because most budgets don't fail because they're wrong, they fail because they're ignored. So today I'm going to show you exactly what I do when a bill comes in. Not in theory, not in hindsight, but what I actually do in real time in the middle of a normal week. This is not about having the perfect budget. It's about staying current so you stay in control, because your money isn't happening to you. You are deciding what happens. And I want to be very clear about something. This is not a new system. This is not revolutionary. This is what I've used for almost 20 years. It worked when we were newly married, paying off $116,000 in debt. It worked when we had two incomes. It worked when our income dropped. It worked when we had unexpected medical bills. It worked when we were paying for an adoption. And it still works now. Not because it's complicated, but because we actually use it every single week. So here's what this actually looks like. When a bill comes in, whether that's an email or snail mail, or maybe it's just a charge that has hit my account that's auto-drafted, I don't wait. I don't say I'll deal with this later, and I don't leave it sitting in my inbox until I forget about it. Because later is where money stress lives. The moment that I'm ready to address the bill, I open my budget and I update it right then. So let's say it's the electric bill. At the beginning of the month, I've put in a rough estimate. This month I budgeted $200. Now I have the real number. I replace the estimate with the actual number and then I zero it out. That's it. No overthinking, no second guessing, no complications. I don't want to live in estimates because my money is living in reality. This is one of the most important things that I do for my budget because it keeps everything accurate, and that's what keeps my family running. This is what keeps the small things from turning into big, stressful surprises later. At the beginning of the month, everything starts as an estimate. Any variable bill, any variable income is an estimate. They're not random guesses. They're based on real numbers, patterns, history, and what I already know about my current month. For expenses, I estimate slightly high because I'd rather be wrong in a way that creates breathing room. I'd rather have extra money than too little. For income, I estimate slightly low, especially because my income is variable. I have multiple contract roles, different hours, different timing. So about halfway through the month, I reassess as I know what my actual income is going to look like. I think that most people think a budget should not change. You make the budget and then you stick to it. However, I do the exact opposite. I make the budget and then I expect it to change when my numbers come in, when I have actual money that I'm working with. Because a budget isn't fixed, it evolves as real life happens. So when those real numbers come in, I adjust. And that's not failure, that's the system that I've created working. If you're watching this and think, okay, this is what I need, but I have no idea how to do it. That's exactly why I made this system. It is so easy. All you need to do is click the link in the description. You're not starting from scratch or trying to figure it out on your own. Because my income isn't fixed, that makes this even more important. My husband has a salary, but my income is variable. And instead of that making my life more stressful, it makes the system more manageable, and I think it's more fun. At the beginning of the month, I estimate conservatively what my income is going to be. Halfway through the month, I check where I actually am with my hours, and then I adjust my budget accordingly. I intentionally estimate lower than I expect because I would always like to have more money than less. It's a great problem to have when you have more income than you've budgeted for. This is another tool that I use called carry forward. At the end of April, if I have $42.50 left in my grocery budget, I can carry that forward and put it into my May budget by putting it in this column here. And because of the formulas I have put into the spreadsheet, it will automatically update and it will give you that $42.50 in your grocery budget that is not coming out of your May budget. The money in my budget doesn't reset every month, it moves forward. So if I don't spend my whole budget in 1 month, I can either choose to zero it out or I can carry it forward to the next month. It doesn't disappear, it gets carried forward, which means nothing is sitting out there waiting to surprise me later. Carrying forward money does a few important things for me. One, it helps me prepare for irregular expenses without needing any kind of separate, complicated system. And two, it creates a natural buffer in my checking account, which gives me some flexibility in my zero-based budget when timing doesn't line up perfectly. Because real life doesn't always run on perfect timing. And this is where the control comes from. Even when something comes in higher than I expected, I don't panic. I just readjust my budget because my budget is working for me. Because I already know where everything stands, I already know what's flexible, and I already know what decisions I can make. And that's the difference. My budget changes all month long, and that's normal and expected. That means my system is working. If your budget only works when nothing changes, that's not a real system. That's not going to work in reality. If you want the exact system that I use, the one that I've refined for almost 20 years, the one that helped us pay off $116,000 in debt, pay cash for an adoption, handle unpredictable income, and stop feeling constantly behind, click the link below. And if you haven't watched my first video, that's where this really clicks, because that's where I explain why money feels so stressful to begin with. If this was helpful, make sure that you subscribe to my channel. I share simple systems that help responsible people build more stability and more freedom. I'll see you on the next video.